Hey, thank you all so much for joining another episode of Celeste the Therapist Podcast. And my name is Celeste. I'm a therapist from Boston. If you've never been to my podcast, thank you so much for being here. I truly appreciate you. What I do on this podcast is I talk about things that people go through, and I try to help you brainstorm and think about ways that you can work through it. We recently wrapped up a series on healing your inner child. If you have not checked out those episodes, it's a five-part series. Please check it out. Really great episode to help you kind of think about some foundational things that could be going on that might be affecting you. Today, we're talking about seasonal depression. And then after this session, our next session, we're going to be talking about All About Love. All About Love is by I can't think of her name right now. Oh yeah, Bell Hooks, who just passed away, an amazing author. One thing I realize is that love is something that people kind of struggle with understanding. I think that we look at it as a feeling. I want to break it down, kind of talk about some foundational things that might be connected to the way that you're seeing love, not just romantically with a partner, but like with yourself. Like, how are we looking at loving ourselves with discipline, et cetera, et cetera. So we're definitely going to dive into that in a couple of weeks. So please get your notebooks and pens ready to take notes and homework assignments. You know, I love homework assignments. I love giving you something to take away. I think the more knowledge that we develop and the more that we start to lean into the thing that we're struggling with, it won't have a hold over us. Like, I truly believe that. Today, seasonal depression. Did you know that some of the ways that you may find yourself struggling during the season in the winter, and it happens in the fall and spring as well, all seasons, could be related to something that you have no control over? So let's jump into the topic. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen because if you are new here and you're listening to me on audio platform, I do record on YouTube, and I love visuals because I'm a very visual person. That's the way I learn. So we're talking about seasonal depression, and let's just learn a little bit about what seasonal depression is. Let me get my cursor ready. I'm trying to figure out. I just updated my computer and it is trying to do something that I'm not familiar with. Hold on, give me 1 second. Um, Let me stop sharing this for 1 second. Okay. Share. All right, I share my screen. Okay. And then okay, here we go. All right. So, seasonal affective disorder. So, seasonal depression, also known as SAD. Seasonal affective disorder is a type of depression that occurs during certain months of the year, typically in the fall and winter months. We talk about this in the fall or winter months, but I just want to be clear. The things I'm talking about could also take place in the spring and the summertime when there's a change of season. Some of the symptoms may sound familiar to you, but you may think like, you could say like, well, wintertime I'm fine, but this sounds familiar. This happens when the seasons change in the summertime. And you could not be affected at all. Everybody is not going to be affected by the season changes, but a lot of people are. I live in Massachusetts. It gets cold in the wintertime. Around this time, I'm constantly talking to people about paying attention to what's happening to their body as the season's changing. And we're going to talk about kind of like why that takes place for people. So that is what seasonal depression is. Some causes. So the exact cause of SAD is not really known, but it's believed to be related to the light exposure, hormone levels, reduced daylight hours during the winter months. It may disrupt your body's natural sleep-wake cycle and lead to lower levels of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that affects the mood. There are real biological things that are taking place in your body. When it comes to the light in general, and I want to talk about that when it comes to phones too, as I'm talking about kind of ways to manage it, be mindful on how much light, like, so the sun's out right now. I'm recording during the daytime. In the morning, I go to the gym at 5:15 and now it's dark out. I love when the spring, summertime comes because the sun's out when I'm getting up in the morning. But at night it is harder to get out of bed. I mean, in the winter months, it's harder to get out of bed in the morning, because the light's not there. There's something powerful about getting that vitamin D, getting the sun. If you have like grandparents, great grandparents that you grew up with, they'll be like, open that shade to pull up that window. A lot of the stuff that like our elders have talked about is they weren't just like trying to nag and get you out of bed. They really wanted you to get some of that sun. That's like that natural medicine that you don't realize is happening. The light exposure, there's like biological things that's happening that can really mess up your circadian rhythm when you're not getting the natural sunlight. So I broke it down into biological, psychological, and lifestyle factors that can cause this seasonal depression to come on. If you're listening to this, I'm going to read it for you. But some biological factors, like I just talked about, changes in daylight can affect your serotonin levels and melatonin production, leading to mood changes. Right? You ever feel do you ever feel kind of moody in the wintertime? If you're feeling moody in the wintertime, and you think like, oh, it's just the winter blues, like I don't ever want you to be like, oh, this is just the way it is, especially if you're miserable. If it's like, oh, Fridays when like I'm gonna be okay because then I have Saturday, Sunday off. So out of 7 days a week, do we just say, oh, I'm just gonna chalk it up and Monday through Friday I'm gonna feel miserable, but Friday and Saturday I'm gonna feel good? Because people that think that way on Sunday, they're not really enjoying it because all they're thinking about is Monday. They're never in the moment. So when it comes to the winter, people be like, "Oh, this is just how I am in the winter. There's winter blues, et cetera, et cetera." Try not to have that mindset when it comes to operating in life. Try to think about what can I have control over. And that's why this podcast is here, is because I want you to think about things that you can do to help work on getting some control over your life. And I understand a lot of times you may not have seen it done. You may not have ever felt like you had control over your life. And so it's easy to go down that dark space of like, well, this is just life. And I really want to help challenge you to think about, how can I operate in a different way? How can I reframe this in a way that can help my mind begin to see a different a way? So some psychological factors: lack of sunlight can impact your mental health and exacerbate feelings of isolation and sadness. The light, the not having the sunlight can affect it. Now, some lifestyle factors that can affect this season of your life. Winter can lead to less physical activity and social interactions, contributing to feelings of depression. Now, you may be somebody it's not like in general you're depressed. I do want to say, if you already struggle with depression, you're more susceptible to like having seasonal depression where it feels stronger. And you may be somebody that be like, I don't typically feel depressed in the wintertime. I don't typically feel depressed in general, but in the wintertime, I find myself struggling. Your lifestyle changes, right? So it's cold outside. Who wants to be outside in the cold? I know I like being inside. When I get up in the morning in the wintertime to go to the gym, I promise you it's not because I want to go. It's not because I feel like going. It's because I think about the reward after. It's like a little reward. And when it comes to some lifestyle factors, if you're aware that, oh, like I need to be intentional about this season and get up and get out of my bed, right? Another thing, when I think about some lifestyle factors, the winter time, there's Thanksgiving and there's freaking Christmas, right? And that is a whole podcast in and of itself. But I want to say that when it comes to these holidays, there's grief, right? If you have family members, friends that have passed away, that's a hard time. You're seeing commercials, you're seeing family movies. It can feel nostalgic. So, in general, when it comes to the holidays, grief can feel really hard, even if you don't have nobody that has passed away. Let's say you don't really have family. Let's say you never really had that supportive environment or that kind of family environment. That can feel really hard to kind of be a part of this season because it you can't escape it. You go to the stores, the Christmas lights are on, the music's on, the shows are family Christmassy shows, right? So things are going to come up, and I want you to be mindful of what you're feeling during the season. Pay attention to how your body's responding, right? If you're new to this podcast, one of the things that I talk about a lot is how our body gives us signs we're okay, sometimes before we even recognize that we're not okay. We can feel it in our stomach. We start sweating. There are certain things that you have learned to not like process when it comes to your body because you weren't taught. I was not taught. Like, oh, what are you feeling in your body? Every day when my kids wake up, how did you sleep, right? If their sleeping isn't well, oh, what do you think happened? I'm challenging them to question their activities, question what they're doing, so that they can start to become the navigator of their life, right? We weren't taught how to navigate our life. We weren't taught how to listen to our body. We weren't taught to become self-aware, to understand what's going on in real time. And so we just start going through the motions. And before you know it, we're operating in life when we're surviving and we're not living. Living life and surviving life looks like two different things, right? So really being mindful of some of the lifestyle factors that can affect you during the season. Now, these are some common symptoms that you might find yourself struggling with. And if you're seeing this, like some of these symptoms are directly related to just depression, right? Literally all of these are in alignment with depression in general. Persistent low mood or sadness, loss of interest and pleasure of activities, decreased energy levels. You're changing in appetite, increase, decrease. A lot of increases I see, right? The comfort foods, they feel good. A lot of people tend to gain more weight in the wintertime. You got the back-to-back holidays and just the comfort food. There's something powerful about having food and it just makes you feel good, right? Sleep disturbances, so insomnia or excessive sleeping, irritability, difficulty concentrating, feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness, and increased risk of suicidal thoughts or behaviors. So these are some common symptoms that you might find yourself experiencing, right? And if anything I said makes sense and you're looking at that, I really want you to take inventory and be more mindful of what's going on with you and not just chalk it up to this is that time of the year that I experience these things and not feel like there's nothing you can do about it. Some treatments for SAD may include, so there's light therapy, right? Where there's a light box you can buy. Some insurances actually pay for it off of Amazon um, or any site. I'm not like navigate, I'm not advocating for Amazon, but you can buy light therapy anywhere where you turn the light on in the morning, it mimics sun. I do put a little caveat here. If you're reading this, it's important to consult with your healthcare professional, determine the best treatment. Because with the light therapy, some medications could affect it. If you have skin, there's some people that might have certain things like skin conditions or medication that the light therapy may not be the best option for them. So if that's the direction you want to try, do your research. You know, obviously, I want to be clear, like being able to have a doctor is a privilege, to be able to talk to a doctor. I understand that. I created this podcast because I realized that everybody doesn't have the means to see a professional. And especially with the way things are going with the healthcare system and how they're, trying to dismantle that. So I do want to be mindful of that. So I want to say, do your research when it comes to the light therapy. And if you do decide, like paying attention to if there are any side effects. Therapy and psychiatry is obviously something that could be helpful. Mindfulness, right? So become more aware of the moment. Being in the moment can be hard for a lot of people because when you were in the moment in the past, that was a hard time. And so you learn how to escape, right? If you can see my hands, it's kind of like if we are going backwards and we're worried about or struggling with the past, like replaying that old tape over and over again, or we're worried about the future, we are not in the moment. Like our feet are not settled. And so if you can work on mindfulness, and I would say just let's say being with yourself is hard, right? When we're talking about change, if you've been listening to this podcast for a long time, I'm not asking you to do nothing grandiose. I'm just saying take a small moment out of your day to start to work on incorporating new things to your body because your system is going to reject it. If you have been used to operating in chaos, if you've been operating in a way that doesn't work for you for so long, regardless of if it works or not, regardless of if you love it or not, it is something that your system has been conditioned to do. So it's so imperative that as you're trying to make change, do not stress yourself out by putting so much on your plate. if you're not getting up and moving your body daily, and you're like, you listen to this podcast, you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go walk 7 days a week. Don't put that pressure on yourself, right? It could be something like, you know what? For the 2 days out this week, I want to be intentional about going outside for 5 minutes for the day. If you're going out 0 times, to say you're going to do 60 minutes 7 days a week is wild. So I want you to think about, when it comes to mindfulness, when you wake up first thing in the morning, do not grab your phone, do not go on social media. Just take one moment to think and breathe, right? A lot of us are trying to escape our thoughts. A lot of us are trying to escape the moment, but there's no escaping your thoughts. Your thoughts are a part of you. You are with yourself 24/7. And so if you can't learn how to be with yourself, you are always going to feel like you're just moving with whatever happens, right? Your moods are fluctuating and you don't feel like you have control. Well, how can you have control when you're not taking time to take inventory of what's going on? We're constantly being bombarded with so much things, with life, with the trauma that's happened in the past, with society, with TV, with social media, with conversation, right? You are constantly walking around collecting trash, just because there's some good stuff that happens, but if you're in America, there's a lot of trash that we're collecting. I don't mean that literally. I mean that by the activities and things that are taking place. And so, like, let's say you're collecting all this trash, right? Let's just, you know what? For the sake of just helping you understand what I'm trying to say, let's just say you're walking around and literally collecting trash, right? You are walking around literally collecting trash. And then you come home with a bag of trash, right, that you've collected. Like, would you literally go to bed with trash in your on your bed, or like on you, like all this trash you collected, right? Would you literally go to bed? Or would you work on saying, like, you know what, let me throw this away. Like, let me go through this bag, take the trash out, right? When it comes to our mental health, we are not taking the trash out. We are letting all of this stuff come into our system. And if you had a hard life, the things that are coming into your system are attaching to the hard life, and all it's doing is reconfirming a hard life, right? My practice is called shifting the way you think, because I recognize the change that we're trying to make is going to start within the way that we're processing, the way that we're thinking. And most of us have not been taught how to process. We have not been taught how to deal with things. We have been taught how to drink. We have been taught how to smoke. We have been taught how to eat our feelings away. We have been taught how to go through relationship and relationship. We've been taught how to gamble. We've been taught how to shop, right? All these maladaptive behaviors to cope with some of the stuff that we're dealing with are the ways that we've been taught. You can be like, oh, I had a long day. Let's go to the bar. Like, yeah, let's do that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you were like, oh, I had a hard day, you know what? Like, I'm going to take some time to decompress, or like go to therapy, or, those are not things that like are the normative. We don't talk about those things as much as we should. I think it's getting better, but we don't talk about it as much as we should. So when it comes to working on mindfulness, I need you to think about, how can I work on being present and being in the moment now? Because it's so important. And when you're in the moment, in the now, you are able to have more control over what's going on, and life is not feeling like it's controlling you. So, um, I really hope that was helpful. When it comes to the seasons changing, especially if you live in a cold weather state, the seasons are going to change, right? And I want you to think about, well, what can I do about it, versus like, oh, it's just how it is. That's with anything. Not We're talking about seasonal depression today, but with anything, I want you to think about that. If you're in a relationship, right, and you're struggling, if it's a work relationship, if it's a partner and you're struggling, don't just chalk it up to just, this is my life. I refuse. I only have one life, and I refuse to live life in a miserable way. I've had so many challenges. You wouldn't know all the challenges I have. And it's only because when these challenges come, I actually like work through them, right? I know how powerful the mind is. And I know if I don't work through them, my mind is going to take inventory of it and it's going to hold on it and it's going to look for evidence to continue making me feel miserable because that's what happens. That's the way the mind operates, right? It looks for evidence to the things that you're like in your head, right? So if I say like I want to become a therapist and I start going to school and I start picturing myself as a therapist, my mind starts to show me the way. So even though the tests were hard, even though I had all these classes to take, I'm able to go through it. I'm celebrating those moments, but I'm able to go through it because my mind is envisioning the future in a positive way. But if I just say like, "Oh my gosh, this sucks. I'm never gonna finish school. How am I ever gonna do this?" So I'm telling my mind, I have no idea how we're gonna finish. This is too much to do. My mind's gonna continue to look for obstacles that are gonna stop me from getting to where I need to be, right? And it's not that because I'm thinking in a positive way about school that I don't have obstacles, but I am not leaning into the barriers, right? There have been so many barriers in my life. I'm not a trust fund baby. I didn't grow up with a spoon in my like mouth and spoon fed life, right? So it's not that I didn't have barriers, but the reality is that I didn't allow the barriers to stop me from where I needed to go. So I do want you to think about that, and that's something that we'll like talk about over, the different courses of these episodes because I'm really passionate about helping you see your power and seeing what you can do. So I really hope this was helpful. I hope this makes sense. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. You can follow me. So celestetherapist.com to learn more about me. Follow me on all social media platforms at Celeste the Therapist. I have a podcast, Celeste the Therapist, and then I have a Celeste the Therapist that's just me, not the podcast. And then I also have my wellness center called Shifting the Way You Think. And so if you follow STWYT or stwyt.com, you can find Shifting the Way You Think. I also put two lifelines on here. Seasons are hard, especially this season. And unfortunately, people get into a dark space around this time. I do want you to know there's a 988 lifeline if you need to talk. The lifeline is there. And then there's 741-741 if you need to vent. You can text home or HOLA to 741-741. One of the I have the classes that take place at my wellness center in Stoughton, but one of the wellness providers, Paula McCree, she holds a Wednesday night Zoom online meditation class for 30 minutes. If you go to stwyt.com/events, you will find the information there. stwyt/events. You will find the information there. And that could be a great way to start your kind of your mindfulness journey is through something that's in the comfort of your home and it's live with a wellness provider that can help. So thank you so much for rocking out with me. I really enjoy these episodes. I really enjoy talking to you all. If anything I ever says resonates for you, understand you have the power to create change, but you have to have faith and start believing in yourself. And when you start believing in yourself, man, I promise you, no one can ever take that away from you. Until next time, beautiful people, I will talk to you later.